Instructions for the Pizza Parlor Pricer assignment can be found in our Canvas course site in the assignments area or in the syllabus area. Here are the instructions. I'm going to scroll down and you'll see a screenshot as well as some sample data that you can use. When you're testing your project, I would be sure to try out all these and make sure your price matches what I have here. There's also a PDF. You can choose the PDF. And this gives us a little better view of the instructions here in this video. So you're going to be creating a project where the customer is choosing a 10, 14, or 18-inch pizza, having those prices reflect for a cheese-only pizza, $5.25, $9.75, and $14.50. But then they can add toppings. And as they add toppings, the price will change. And they add toppings by checking the checkboxes. These checkboxes and these radio buttons all tie to the exact same event procedure. They are all a CheckedChanged event. And so you only write one piece of code to handle all of this. So anytime a checkbox changes, anytime a radio button choice changes, this price down here should be reflected. The price here is a concatenated string, so you're going to add a little string of price, and then the price of the pizza. Remember to use that C2 in the toString property to get the $sign and the 2 decimals. You'll notice there are also 4 buttons over here on the side. So if they click the Supreme should uncheck the extra cheese, but check the pepperoni and sausage, uncheck the Canadian bacon, uncheck the pineapple, but check the mushrooms, bell peppers, onions, and olives. So there's 6 items checked there. Again, when you click this button, since it's changing the checked property of these checkboxes, the price will automatically reflect. So anytime you press one of these buttons as far as a pre-styled pizza, then the price should reflect automatically and the checkboxes will change. If you do a Supreme 18-inch and then you choose to a 10-inch, again we're changing the checked event for this, and the CheckedChanged property will kick into that procedure that reflects this price based on the new size. I'll run this in a minute so you can see all that. Then we have Hawaiian. By the way, pepperoni mushroom, we'll only check the pepperoni and the mushroom. Everything else is unchecked. The Hawaiian unchecks everything except for the Canadian bacon and the pineapple. And the vegetarian unchecks everything except for these last 4, mushroom, bell peppers, onions, and olives. Those would all be checked. None of these default options include extra cheese. A client may very well add that in. So if I choose vegetarian and I get the price for these 4 items as an 18-inch pizza, and then I check the extra cheese, of course that price should update. Let's take a look at this running. So here's my sample project. Right now I have an 18-inch cheese only, which is $14.50, but if I change 10-inch, I see that's $5.25, and 14-inch is $9.75. If I begin to add in some items, maybe I want sausage and mushroom. So we have $9.75 plus $2.15 plus $3.20 plus $1.15, and the price now has gone from $9.75 to $16.25. If I choose to make this a Supreme pizza, it unchecks everything except for pepperoni, sausage, mushroom, bell peppers, onions, and olives, and you see the price now is $19.15. And if I were to add in extra cheese, be an additional $2.25, and make it $21.30. If I change over to a 10-inch, that price is reflected. Change to an 18-inch, that price is reflected. And if I uncheck the extra cheese here, as far as $3.35, this should go to $29.50, and it does. So you have 5 event procedures to write. One is the Supreme button, which checks and unchecks items. Same with the pepperoni mushroom, same with the Hawaiian button, same with the vegetarian button. And then you'll have one event procedure that handles the CheckedChanged property of all of these checkboxes, along with these 3 radio buttons handling the CheckedChanged. So again, one event procedure for the 3 radio buttons and the 9 checkboxes. Now, one thing to point out here, we talked about radio buttons being mutually exclusive, and it looks like these are in panels, so they'd be mutually exclusive to each other. And that's just simply an aesthetic design here. These are not panels. These are labels, colored labels that are behind these, just to provide some aesthetic separation between the three sizes of pizza. I'm going to jump over to Visual Studio and show you that. So here's my design in Visual Studio, and I'm going to click on this orange background for the 10-inch, and you'll notice in the properties it's a label. It's an unnamed label. In this case it was label 32, and then that's also a label, that's also a label. So that these really are mutually exclusive because they don't reside in containers. There's just simply what appears to be a container behind them. As far as the prices, in this column I set these all up as separate labels. That'd be one way to do it. But here in the 14-inch and 18-inch, I used a label with multiple lines. So it's just a single label with each of the prices, and I did a blank line in between each of the prices to space them out a little bit. The disadvantage of doing it this way is you're kind of tied to this spacing, where with the labels individually you can adjust the spacing between those if you wanted to tighten this up a little bit. But this saves a little bit of time, a little bit cleaner if you just do labels with all the prices in them. I'd make sure I put blank lines between them because otherwise it gets a little bit crowded. And of course these are individual labels, and you have your different radio buttons and the different text boxes and the different buttons. This is one label down here for your price. I named mine LBL price, and again the concatenation is the word price with a colon, space, and then your value of the price converted to a currency string using that C2 option in the to string. In setting up your code for these radio buttons and checkboxes, what I would do is start with just changing the price on these three radio buttons. So you're going to have a if, else if, else structure where the if is checking to see if the 10-inch is selected. If it is, you're going to set a price to $5.25. If the 14-inch is selected, you're going to set the price to $9.75. And if the 18-inch is selected, you're going to set the price to $14.50. And if nothing is selected, I'd bring up a message box saying, please select a size. So that'd be your else. As that is happening, once you've gone through that if, else structure, then set your price to these. Get that working, and then come in and add nested if structures for each of the checkboxes. And if you want to make it look really clean, I would use that ternary conditional statement for these. And your code is not that long, and it looks really nice and neat. Again, these are going to be nested, so you have if structures for each one of these 9 checkboxes under the 10-inch that reflect these prices. You'll have the same thing, these 9 nested underneath the 14-inch that reflects these prices. And under the 18-inch fork, you'll have the same 9 that reflects these prices. And all you're doing, if this is checked, you're simply going to add, if it's a 10-inch, you're going to add $1.10 to the base price. If the 14-inch is checked, you're going to add $2.15 to the base price. And if the 18-inch is checked, you'll add $3.35 for the extra cheese out of that base price, and then update your label. That is the project. One word of caution here that I find students tend to do is they want to make this more complicated than it is. Again, you're only creating 5 event procedures, and you're using if, else if structures with nested if statements here, and I would put these checkbox statements that are nested as a ternary conditional statement.